Welcome back. And if you are tired of winning, right? Because it seems like it's been difficult to make money currently in the shape of the markets. Well, I'm going to give you an update and I will show you exactly where my trade is at and what are my thoughts. And I'm vaguely nervous. However, I think that we did find a bottom and people have capitulated. And so from there, my analysis is we are going up. So I do have a QR code if you want to join the trading platform as well. But just to be a man of my word, and tell you what kind of why I'm nervous about stuff. Well, okay, here is my basically 3 Bitcoin trade going on here. It's worth 300 grand. I've got about 50 grand of my own money in there. I am down about 13 grand, kind of like how we were last time. And what is that percentage? That's 27. And there's been some profit takings going on is essentially what I've been seeing. So if we look at just a simple chart, I love Bollinger Bands. You guys know how much I do, or at least people close to me, because things tend to just bounce off of them. Yes, they can go down and lower, but I've got a trend line right here. And this is the simple trend line from about the 4-hour, which, we were not able to break, right? And then we broke, but now we're retesting it. And we are staying close to another trend line on a 4-hour as well, which usually these things like to withstand. And if they don't, then, we're going to touch a different one. But I'm a big trend liner, and so for that, I can delete this one now because we've got a much larger trend line that is being difficult to get by. And that is this one since all-time highs of 26. And we tried to break it here, couldn't. Try to break it here. Let me get rid of the Bollinger Bands. Okay. And then I'll get rid of the EMAs as well. So it's just easier to see. And then this one couldn't break. This one couldn't break as well. So what happened in late hours of the Asian market? Yes. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I believe it was yesterday because we pumped and we had a decent pump. Okay. Yesterday, we basically were starting the week from 103 and we pumped up to 106, and that's where we closed. And then all of a sudden, we jumped up late to 107 400, and that's because this area right here had a lot of shorts. There was a lot of shorts that were going short right in this area above 107. And so it was liquidity hunting is what it is like if you've been in crypto, especially if you're trading, like really the best is to spot hold and not do meme coins, because you don't want to turn into James Wynn where you're like, oh, I got lucky and I made 100 million and then now I'm going to lose all of it. But my point being is it's liquidity grabs. Is these exchanges know where people are having their shorts and their longs and they stop hunt them, right? That's why we went under 100 grand, was because there was a lot of longs packed up right there because it's a nice psychological number. They knew. That's why I went down to 98, right? And the next psychological number is around that 92 is where the floor is. And that's where everyone is screaming that that's where we're going to go. So what's going to happen in the market is there's either two things. We are going to hit that mark and go much lower, probably to like 88 or so, which I don't want to have that happen. Or what I think is going to happen is it's not going to touch that at all. Like the market is just wrong. And so the consensus on crypto Twitter and everything, when people are screaming that, oh, it's going much, much lower, they're usually wrong. They've already capitulated and things are going on, because what we have is we have rate cuts. Yes, we had Powell being somewhat hawkish, which is not the best, but hey, that happens at times. And we have this government shutdown. So that's the next thing here. Okay, is we need some sort of a catalyst, because the government shutdown is starting to make headway. And we are closer to ending the shutdown. A small band of Democrats have voted with Republicans. That's nice, right? So what's next? The measure will go to the House, shutting shockwave, cuts flights 40%, increasing 6%. So right now there's a small little shock going on because we thought from yesterday, the markets were saying, hey, we're closer to today. It's like, hold off. It's going to be a couple days away before things actually get done. And that's really the shock that we need to bounce above, right? We need the government shutdown to reopen, and that's going to be enough to break the ceiling right here. And the next step is right around that 110, 111, because we have this big volume node or volume load on Bitcoin. But what I think is funny is because there's two things here, okay? The CME futures, we hit the gap, right? You can see all these gaps that I have on here. We have pretty much always hit them. And the last one that was on Sunday, it's hipped. And now we can start to kind of rebound, and from there, we are in this falling wedge, I would say, right? And usually futures somewhat front runs the actual deal. And there's a small little bullishness in here because we are at 103,400, where the spot is 103,246. I mean, it's perpetual futures contract, so the spot is actually 273. So it's darn close. So what that tells me is that future traders are expecting a little bit of bullishness, right? Like they're willing to pay a little bit more for it. And usually when I see this sucker be way high, like the futures is before this happened, right? Actually, it was more here with the 117 before the rate cut happened. Futures was trading around $1,000 premium to $1,500 premium, which told me, whoa. There's a little bit too much bullishness happening right now. And currently, funding rates just turned positive as well. So that is telling me that longs are paying for shorts, which is mildly concerning. But if I look at basically, the short time frame, this looks on the daily, this looks concerning, right? But we've hit a trend line here. And it looks like maybe it's exhausted, because if I look at some of the other things, okay, we've got RSI crossing down. We've got the MACD. The histogram is now starting to fold over. This is like all the bullshit that people charge money for when it comes to the money flow and blah, blah, blah. Like it's just an overlay of everything. So you don't need like Market Cipher and all this stuff to try to be a good trader. No, what you need is you need to be fairly motionless, which is the most difficult part, and somewhat lucky at times. But basic understanding of trends and markets will help you, right? Because if I zoom out on the weekly, okay, because just looking at the daily, it looks a little bit concerning. But if I zoom out, and yeah, I've got a few trend lines here, but we've got this big rising trend since, what is this? October of 23, right? So almost 3 years. And let me show you if I get nope, wrong one. I mean, that's a good one too. The ribbons, they show you when they cross, and nothing has crossed over yet. They're starting to curl, but something that could easily just be a minor fake out. But the biggest thing here is this green line. Okay, this green line is the 50-day EMA. Oh, no, that's not the one I want. I wanted this. So here's one time that it broke through on the weekly, and then it closed much higher. Okay, and price continued. Same thing over here. What happened shortly after that? Well, we had 2 touches, and it skyrocketed. Okay, if I look at the next one, why do I keep doing that one? We have another touch, and it goes below. That 50-day closes above. What happens to price? Boom, we skyrocket. And I guess if I'm looking at stuff, might as well do this, right? Whenever we touched, there's 160% gain. Okay, touched again, 100% gain. I think this last one was a 60% gain. Okay. Well, what just happened on Sunday? Sunday fun day, the manipulation day where there's low liquidity and everyone just decides to either long or short and hit stop hunt. It's liquidity day is really what it is. Saturday is always hardly nothing happens. And Sunday, we either get a big pump so that then we fill the CME gap the next week or vice versa. Okay, so dun dun dun. Let me continue to show you what happened on Sunday. Okay, here is that 50 EMA. We closed above it, right? It was literally at 102,900 and we closed at 104,600 and it created a small CME gap. And I just showed you where that gap is and what usually happens after that. Well, let me restart stuff. So we had a 160 gain, then we had a 100% gain. And now, we had a 60. So what happens if we just maybe cut that in half to have maybe just a 30-40, right? Well, we're right around 140, okay? And why is that moment important? Well, it moves with the trend, moves with the trend. If we hit back up here, it's 140 to 150. So that's typically my target. We just went under 103. So if I jump back in on the 4 hour, because I like the 4 hour, we're touching this line here and this might not be strong enough to hold. So it's going to be bad if we end up breaking below 100, but it's not the most end of the world because of that weekly. As long as we can continue to climb above that weekly, we should be good. And what's interesting is looking at the stock market. Okay, well, I guess here, let me just back up real quick and I'll show you the Bollinger Bands. Okay, right now we went to the top on the 4 hour. We're sitting right around the middle. In the daily, we're bouncing off the bottom. The top of this guy is really around 116, 117, which is really where my take profit is. On the weekly, the Bollinger Bands. Every time we hit the bottom of the Bollinger Bands, we bounce too. Okay, we just hit the bottom of the Bollinger Band yet again. And what is potentially going to happen? We're bouncing. All we need is the government shutdown to reopen so that it's a sign of risk on, because have like a 70% chance of another rate cut in December. And typically November is a strong month. And as of right now, the month is not going very strong. So let me get back to what I was showing you, is because as much as people say that the stock market is not correlated with crypto, absolutely is. Okay. We've got the dollar. The dollar is bouncing off of a trend. Okay. And we need the dollar to weaken. And so far it is weakened. We've got risk on when we are under 100. We're at 99, right? It'd be nice if this sucker broke through this, but looking, it's been a while since the dollar has broken below this trend line, if it will load, right? But here, let me get the S&P 500 here, because remove the Bollinger Band so that you can see, and remove, because we're basically bouncing off of the 20-day. But what's important is stocks move first and crypto lags and crypto follows. Okay. So what has happened? We have stayed in this trend. Last week, when we got to 99 in Bitcoin, we tried to go under, we tried to turn bearish, but no, we've bounced out and we have broken out of this falling wedge, or you could even say it's like almost like a minor flag in a larger area. So they have broken out. But what is Bitcoin waiting to? Bitcoin is waiting to break about its same wedge. Okay. So this is interesting. The correlation here. We are headed to touch this top, which is going to be around the $7,000 mark. 7,000 SPY is going to equate to 115, 117 in Bitcoin, right? If we are going to get new all-time highs of 125 to 130, really we need the SPY to be somewhat overextended of 7,000, close to 500-ish. Is that possible? Yeah, but that's kind of like the euphoric that we haven't gotten yet. And that would be enough for me to say that I think we have one more leg, one more push about stuff. If we look at Solana, Solana has hit the bottom of its Bollinger Band, and Solana has rejected this same trend line that Bitcoin is following as well. Okay, we need to break this falling trend, and we need just something to push us over. And that would be reopening the government, because when it comes to macro, like, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. Oh, I got a couple comments. Why not just spot buy? Yeah, absolutely. That's the best way to do it, is definitely, and you're up big buying Doge. Good. I mean, but Doge has yet to have gotten back above, I believe it's 90 cents from last cycle. I don't really think Doge is a good coin, to be honest with. Sui's good. Solana, XRP, Link. I was a big Ethereum guy until I had 55 Ethereum stolen from me from an exchange. Like, woo, yay me, right? And I still haven't totally recovered mentally from having 50 Ethereum stolen. But yeah, I know some friends that have had like 10 Bitcoin stolen and stuff. So it's hard to bitch about stuff like that. My point being is, the catalyst is showing. Okay, stocks are up. The dollar is weakening. Yeah, the 10-year is looking is keep going up, which isn't good. We need rates to drop too, right? So that's the only thing, is we would like to see the 10-year go down. Usually with rate cuts, it should go down. Dollar is somewhat weakening. Okay, I'd hate to see this thing rebound a bunch. Stocks are doing well. They are exploding. We are in a much higher trend, okay, which is also a scary trend in this bigger trend. So we do not want to lose this. We do not want to see stocks close under 6,640 or so, because then we've got a massive catalyst to catch us back down into under 6,000, right around 5,000, which would absolutely send Bitcoin tumbling to the 92, which is this mark right here around 93, which that's like kind of the last line of defense here, because the big volume node is we're never going to go back down to 20, but a lot of guys are saying that we're going to drop down to 70, maybe in the maybe mid 2026, like worst case scenario. But I think we have a big pump. And the other thing is, we've got these ETFs and these big exchanges. And so when everyone says that they're selling BlackRock and everyone is selling Bitcoin, it's their clients are. It's not them. They're a custodial owner. There is a lot of manipulation going on with Binance and some of these other exchanges like Bybit and them, because they see the order books. They know, and ironically, they are Asian companies. And what happened last night when the Asian market moved? We had low volume and we spiked up to hit short stops, right? And then we decided to come back down here. But right now we are falling on mediocre volume, right? This is mediocre volume. So I don't see, we need strong volume to make this thing officially pump through. So to me, this is just more liquidity grab before we go higher. I see good things happening towards the end of the week. What would invalidate this was closing below 101. We got to hold 102, really, is what I'm thinking. But all while this is happening, okay, what is the stock market doing? It's pumping. So I'm thinking we're going to go higher. This is Johnny Crypto. I'm here to help you guys make some money. If you want some free money, there's that QR code right up there as well. I'll keep doing this every other day or so and keep you guys up to date.